So Kyrsten Sinema thought she was going to save her Senate seat by declaring herself an independent, but a new poll says, not so fast. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So like me, many of you are probably celebrating the victory of Raphael Warnock in the Georgia Senate runoff election. His beating Herschel Walker was one of the great victories for progressives across the country. And even though it didn't determine control of the Senate, thanks to Democratic victories elsewhere, it certainly set us up for a better 2024 election where we're going to be defending a number of tough seats, including my own here in Michigan, where Senator Debbie Stabenow just announced that she's not running for re-election, and Kyrsten Sinema's Arizona seat for that matter. But then, almost as soon as we were at the height of our celebration, we were knocked down by Kyrsten Sinema once again! How often she has taken away from us the joy of victory, snatching defeat from victory for us Democrats. Some Democrats she is, for sure. Announcing that she will be leaving the Democratic Party and becoming an independent. Well, from a practical perspective, this really is kind of a moot point, and made many observers wonder, why is she doing this? I mean, after all, she's going to continue to caucus with the Democratic Party, which means that, like Bernie Sanders from Vermont and Angus King of Maine, she'll basically continue to be a part of the Democratic Party's presence in the Senate, helping us retain our majority control there. And the truth of the matter is, she's also generally supported President Biden's judicial appointments, helping him rapidly appoint new judges. And although it hasn't made a big change in the ideological makeup of our courts, it has at least provided some buffer that will protect rational decision-making in the courts for some time going forward. So why would she do this, once again sticking her finger in the eye of the Democrats who helped elect her just 4 years ago? Well, it seems the consensus view is that she believes that she would be unable to win a primary in either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. And guess what? She's probably right. A recent poll showed that Sinema is so unpopular with Arizona Democrats that she would lose a primary against Representative Ruben Galeo by 74 to 16. That's right, you heard it, 74 to 16, losing the election by a 60 point margin. I don't think I've ever heard of that big of a margin. What's more is she's really unelectable as a Republican either. I think the odds are we're going to see Kari Lake, the failed gubernatorial candidate and election denier from this year's election, reemerge running as the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate. And guess what? Kari Lake came so close to being elected governor in this last election that there's no way Republicans would say, well, we ought to just select a Democrat because our party can't win in Arizona anyway. Clearly, Republicans can win in Arizona. And Kyrsten Sinema, with her ambiguous sexuality and her outrageous fashion sense, is unlikely to generate any kind of support among conservatives. In fact, Kyrsten Sinema has staked out a position that is the most unpopular position and the position with the least support among American voters of any possible position. And that position is socially liberal and economically conservative. I mean, her vote against increasing the minimum wage and her aggressive efforts to stop taxes from impacting the very wealthy, and especially hedge fund managers of all people, don't impress anybody except the top 0.01%. And while her social issues are actually quite in line with the social positions of most Democrats, her economic policies make her unacceptable to Democrats. In other words, she's taken the two positions that basically alienate both parties. So apparently Kyrsten Sinema's gamble is not that she can win a three-way race, but she's basically going to hold a gun to the head of Democrats, saying essentially, support me, or I will run anyway and ensure that the Republican gets elected by drawing away enough votes from the Democrat to make that happen. Well, this latest poll just shows how spurious a claim that is. I mean, Kyrsten Sinema is so unpopular at this point that even if she runs, she's a non-factor, taking votes almost equally from both the Democrat and the Republican. So here's what the poll says. Let's just say there's a three-way race in which Kari Lake is the Republican nominee, Ruben Gallego the Democratic candidate, and Kyrsten Sinema the independent. In that case, Sinema would get 13% of the vote. It would truly be a race between Lake and Gallego, with Lake getting 41% and Gallego getting 40%. That is a statistical dead heat, which means that it could go either way. Similarly, if Sinema doesn't run, you see a race with Gallego at 48 and Lake at 47. Also a statistical dead heat, which means that either way, we're looking at a close race between Gallego and Lake, the Democrat and the Republican, with Kyrsten Sinema being a non-factor. Her level of irrelevance is only going to increase as the campaign wears on and more Democrats and Republicans who might have considered voting for her, in other words, in that limited 13% slice there, start to realize that a vote for her is a thrown-away vote, and that in a close election like this, no vote can be thrown away. What's more is for those concerned about the Democrat being able to win, Gallego is an impressive candidate who, as a Hispanic, I think has great potential to excite the Hispanic population and get them to turn out for the Democratic Party in large numbers. Something that could be an important factor in a state like Arizona. The bottom line is, Sinema's best move is probably taking a job with one of her Wall Street masters, using the funds she's raised to establish herself as a credible lobbyist, and forget completely about the possibility of running for re-election. But even if she does decide to waste her time and ours, her candidacy will be the last step in her march toward irrelevance. Well, if you like this video and want to find out more about Kyrsten Sinema's desperate efforts to woo Wall Street at the expense of her constituents, check out this video over here I did a while ago. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.